Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, this is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project podcast. You're here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. Our guest today is Robert Overweg. Robert Overweg is the founder of the Adaptable Mindset program. He and his team empower people to develop their own adaptable mindset, to develop mental flexibility, learn how to create mental space, and to find new possibilities in our rapidly changing world. We keep feeling the impact of unpredictable events in which we have to adapt. Robert teaches how adaptability is about empowerment and finding new perspectives. Welcome to the show, Robert Overweg.
Thanks for having me, Joanne.
I'm grateful that you are here because I believe in adaptability, and I think that more people need to do it, especially now. And tell people how they can live a life filled with possibilities, because if you're not adaptable, you're not seeing the world in all its glory.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So according to us, adaptability is about being able to find fresh perspectives, to be able to adapt to changing circumstances, to have a form of openness to change, to be somewhat curious, And how you can get there is actually pretty easy. It is like, the saying of following your curiosity. It can start there. It can be as simple as that to, what is the thing that attracts your attention besides, of course, Instagram and Netflix? It should be like, it could be drawing, music, art, poetry, whatever, and keep on exploring that. And also what helps is, and the science proves this, things from yoga, meditation, running, kickboxing, like whatever gives you a little bit of also uncertainty, ambiguity, those kind of things. They help you to stretch your soul, to train your change muscle in a sense. And in that way, you can, in a very playful and way that fits for you, you can work on your adaptability, and that will be beneficial in your work, in your personal life, like everywhere.
Do you find that the physical movement is necessary or vital in becoming more adaptable?
Yeah, I think so. And it makes it very easy as well, because maybe you can relate to this as well, that sometimes, your head is a bit foggy and you got a lot of things on your mind, but then you go for like a 30-minute walk and you get back and you're like, hey, what were the issues again? Movement creates space. Movement creates flexibility. Also, for example, when you walk, you will have less judgment. So you got more space to explore. When you're moving, and you can also let your subconscious mind do some work. So you're be better able to tap into the vast knowledge which is stored in your brain, and you're not distracted by maybe your work or your social media or those kind of things. And actually, we also know from research that if we have like a stronger body, you'll also have a stronger mind. You'll be better able to deal with the anxiety and ambiguity and uncertainty that change can bring. So, of course, everything is the mind, body, soul. It's all connected with each other.
Yeah, it's amazing when you tell people. I've written a few articles about adapting. People have to adapt. They have to, a little bit to the left, a little to the right. It's not a big, huge change that's involved. So how do you handle people, especially in the companies that you're dealing with, the Fortune 500 companies, when they say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And they need to be adaptable.
Yeah, that's what we often see in organizations, that there is a little bit of finger pointing to each other, like he or she is not moving. So leadership points downwards and people on the work floor point upwards. So that's always an interesting paradigm. But I think it starts with intrinsic motivation. It starts with whatever gives you energy. And if you can start there, like what is valuable to you, what energizes you, and if you move from there, then this kind of exploration and this learning, it becomes fun. And I think that is an important aspect to start to integrate. So one thing that we recently did that goes into the fun aspect is, so we set up an entire festival of a week for a very, very large organization. And people could spend half of the day on different tracks that we had. Tracks on how to create mental space, how to work on your creativity, and how to reinvent how we work. So these were a little bit of business things, but also mental well-being, mind space, etc. And, the energy that something like that creates, that is fantastic. And what we also did is we invited people to come up with their own ideas, with their own programs, so that they get a feeling of self-reliance, autonomy, and that they do not have to wait for permission, but that you create a space where we can all explore with each other how we can improve and our own life, but also the lives of our colleagues.
Yeah, that's amazing. I do think that lack of adaptability came into play big time during COVID. And yet it was probably a gift, so to speak, that it will give you the space to create adaptability. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. I think for not for everyone, but for a lot of people, it was a little bit of a wake-up call, and then maybe a lot of time for yourself to reflect. And, do I want to continue in this way? And I think such a moment where you mirror, I think that is, I think that was an interesting trigger for a lot of people.
Yes, it was. It's still profound out there in the real world, in the rest of the world, whatever we want to call it, because, things have changed. People got divorces, people left work, people started their own businesses, and, we're a business podcast, but still, it had its great effect. And
yeah, you see it everywhere. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
I like how you frame it, that it's really amazing, because, that's a positive outlook. And that is, I think, also part of adaptability, that you always try to find the good in things and how you can make it work. I think like having such a positive mindset, and like there's so much potential now to reinvent how we work, reinvent how we live. And I think this is the time to start working on that and to create the world and the space that we all want.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I agree with you that this is an opportunity to change our own world at the very least, is our own world, how we look at things. And a lot of people have wanted to change it. And then along came Zoom, and here we are. And along came many, many things to give us the opportunity of, what am I looking for here? Adapt, obviously. But we could do anything. We could fly. You could fly. And, in terms of today's talk. Anyway, I just feel as if it gave people the opportunity to fly, where before they felt confined, and then they go, okay, this is an opportunity here. What can I do with it?
Yeah, and I think it's also a little bit like how would you call it? Maybe like a gateway, because the impossible was suddenly possible, and the impossible was happening, of course, with COVID, but also with, hey, you are able to work from home. So something that we've been told, which was not possible for decades, and all of the silly things that we did before, and everyone getting in our car, going to work at the same time, like when all of these things start to become not true anymore, then what else can we change, right? And if we can keep that momentum going, because you see now that large organizations like HSBC, PepsiCo, Unilever, they are actually reinventing how we work as well. We see that they split up. They no longer have like specific roles that people have, but the work is split up in smaller gigs, and you see that entire teams materialize overnight to work on specific tasks, and people can have multiple jobs from multiple organizations. So in that regard, more adaptability also seeps into even the larger organizations. And if we look further down the road of technology, like there's so much possible. You can build your own enterprise technology just on your own with no code software. You can plug in machine learning in your Google Sheet or in your Excel file, like through a simple plugin. So there's so much that we can do, even as individuals or as small teams, empowered by a little bit of technology and a fresh perspective.
Do you find that you're part of Europe? You're calling from Amsterdam, I'm guessing, or I'm sure of that. Yeah. Yes, you are. Okay. Yeah. And do you think that your part of Europe is more advanced in their willingness to accept adaptability?
No, not necessarily. I think because we have a lot of fear. We have a lot of fear of failure.
Okay.
And I think in the US, that is less the case. The US is more, okay, we messed up, let's pick up again and retry. I think that is a little bit more in your culture, which is, more beneficial, of course. If you are more freer to create and just fail and then pick yourself up again.
Right.
We do have a lot of different types of technology and a lot of different types of development, and we used to have proper art and proper art education, which also always helps with mind expansion and finding different perspectives. So we do have a few of these liberal or more art-focused directions which help us. But I think like every region has its own thing that you can use as a catalyst for adaptability.
I think it's Amazon who wants their people. Amazon. I just see this tall, skinny man. One of the big 3, 4, 5 of the tech businesses decided they want everybody back to the office 3 days a week starting September. And that, I think that's going to be a problem. And I don't know what your opinion is on it, but, if people aren't allowed to live their own lives in the sense that they can work from home, and instead of putting in 8 hours a day, if the work gets done, quote unquote, if the work gets done, it can sometimes be done in 4 hours. So they have to travel to the place of business an hour each way, at least for most people, especially here in the Seattle area. And then they're just devoting their time to sitting in an office. And I'm concerned about that. Because if it if it starts with one, it's going to go to others as well.
Yeah, sure, but people can still vote with their feet, and can go somewhere else, of course, unless everyone forces you to do it. But then you can also start for yourself, right? You can also do your own thing, which is becoming more and more easy through all of the technology that I previously described, like the no code, like the new AI tooling, like all of these things make it more feasible to have your own little startup. So I think forcing people back to work to a physical location, I think like if you build like a physical product,
right,
then I can sort of, it's quite difficult to work on something physical if you're all remote. What I like more is the approach from, for example, Dropbox. They remodeled all of their offices more into collaborative spaces. That is where you hang out. That is where you vibe with each other. That is where you inspire each other. I think there is value in connecting with each other. There's value in serendipity, finding a sense of belonging, and it can be a different vibe when you are together. But ideally, you would let people decide themselves, because what we see here in the Netherlands now is that even when the decisions were made that people should spend like 2 to 3 days in the office, that people just don't show up. There are always something comes in between, because, if you don't make the most out of the physical get-togethers, and it could have also been just a Teams or a Zoom call, then I think you haven't got the memo.
Right.
Then you should probably have a different approach.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to force people to come into work, especially after, it's been 3 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. Force people to come into work unless they do have a thing they're working on, something physical, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has to do a bit with fear as well, and wanting to have a sense or a form of control, which is also a little bit of an archaic model. You see now more also in the Web3 space with decentralized autonomous organizations. People pick up their own tasks. They pick up the things that they want to work on the passion projects that they want to run. And so you see that in the sort of the fringes of new technology in Web3 and decentralized autonomous organizations. And you see it in these large behemoths like the Unilevers and PepsiCo, which I just described. So, I think if you are not on that path, I'm not sure what you're doing. It could work still, of course, but we see the developments more in more autonomy, more self-reliance, more flexibility. Those are the trends that we see.
So do you work with corporations, Fortune 500 companies? So give us an example, if you can, of what may have occurred recently in the companies. If you have something that they wanted to do, for example, that they wanted to do, Chanel, Heineken, and so on. So they have, I'm trying to follow my own train of thought, thinking at the same time, trying to be flexible. Okay, so if you go to these companies and you're teaching them how to be adaptable, how do you do that?
Well, often we first have a conversation with CEO, CTO, head of innovation, head of product, or head of innovation, someone like that, and just speak about, what are the challenges, where do you see improvements, and then often we have workshops with innovation teams or even beyond that. And we explore together with people, what motivates them, where their intrinsic motivation lies. And then once we've got a form of connection, a form of energy, then we look at what the challenges are. And from a sense of energy and from a sense of connection, it's more easy to solve these challenges. And then we also apply tools like some of the technology that I described to, it could be that maybe we have too many meetings. So you don't have the ability at all to have mental space, and then talking about innovation and adaptability is a utopia. And then maybe first we need to solve that. But people first need to feel why it's relevant for them. And we need to invite them to become autonomous and self-reliant, because I think the last 2 decades have not been great examples of autonomy. We often still had top-down hierarchy. Now slowly organizations start to embrace Agile and Scrum, but people haven't been trained yet to have their own autonomous thoughts. They haven't been trained yet to deal with the uncertainty and with the ambiguity. So we see that organizations who do spend time on that, who do train that change muscle, that they just perform better. And you see it from global data as well. If organizations have a higher employee experience and a high customer experience, they have double the revenue of organizations who don't. And of course, that is very logical. If you have happy employees, they create a proper organization for you, which equals more revenue. It's very logical. Similar research, which is also interesting, we see that intrinsically motivated people, they give a higher creative and innovative outcome. It's also very interesting, also very logical. And we also see that people who have more than one specific expertise, they are more open to change because they feel less threatened by new developments because they just have more abilities and capabilities. So it also helps in reframing sort of and opening up people's perspectives in what is possible.
Yes. I just say yes to all of that.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I think it affects different age groups, different generations differently, because people who are, and I don't know what your experience is, but I know that people who are younger are just not willing to put up with this, demand from the boss, so to speak, of doing certain things in a certain way. Whereas people who are older, they just go into that with ease. It's easier for them to comply.
Yeah, correct. But also we see that the younger generation, I have to say this correctly, between 18 and 34, 60% say that they never truly relax.
Oh.
So let it sink in. Yeah, indeed. Oh, so they constantly check their phone, Twitter, email, even when they know that they don't have any messages, they still check it. So, then you end up with superficial thoughts. Then you end up with not the ability to innovate. So that is quite a challenge. And imposter syndrome also runs rampant, especially in the younger generation. Around 42% of people have that. So if you don't think that you will be able to do something and your mind is already overflown with all of the information, then it's like doing innovation on hard mode. It's not something you want to do. So first you need to create that space, and then you need to help people to find that faith again and that trust in their own abilities. And luckily that is something that you can train. And luckily that is something that everyone can get back. So that's a beautiful thing, but we should be conscious of all of the things that people are dealing with.
Yeah, it's amazing is a word I use for most anything, but it's how it affects the different generations is really interesting to me. You can find more information on adaptablemindset.com. That's adaptablemindset.com, where Robert Overweg has got quite a bit of information. And he has, you can sign up for all sorts of things on his website, and you might be ready to do that right now. I think Robert has the answer, adaptability, because that's all there is left. If you can't be flexible, that was the word I was searching for, flexible and adaptable, you don't stand much of a chance in this new world. And probably in the next 2 to 5 years, everything will be changed a lot. And that's what you need to do. You can also find Robert's information on Robert at Instagram at the Adaptable Mindset, LinkedIn at Robert Overweg, and Twitter at Robert Overweg. I want to thank you for being here today, Robert, because this has been interesting. You put a different perspective on. I have a lot of people who talk about the brain and all that jazz, but this is very specific as to what they can do. And I appreciate you being here to talk about it.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. Yeah, we try to make it as applicable and useful as possible for people to really start applying into their own lives, and then preferably in a fun and playful way.
Yes, it's not all hard work. It's hard play. Hard play. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for being here today. It's been wonderful, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Joanne.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to askjoannevictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's askjoannevictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.